Hello, my name is Anthony Clem, and in this Tableau story I will be comparing NOAA's published sea level trends against recent USGS water level observations and forecasts in Grand Bayou, Caillou, Dulac, Louisiana. NOAA has published relative sea level trends, observations throughout the United States, and especially in the Gulf Coast of the United States. The rate of relative sea level rise is quite high. For example, as you can see on this data provided by NOAA, the mean sea level trend at Grand Isle, Louisiana is about 3 feet per century. This relative sea level rise in coastal Louisiana, coupled with observed land loss from the USGS over the past century, has a startling effect. Over the past 100 years or so, there's been a marked decrease in the amount of land available as a buffer between populated areas and the sea. The land loss is mostly coastal wetlands and mangroves. So what I wanted to do is take USGS observations at a local gauge in Dulac, Louisiana, which is in Grand Bayou, Caillou, and compare those observations and those trends to what NOAA had published. The data is 15-minute observations in feet, and the datum is at NAVD 88, and this is a zoomed out version of all the data I had available. It's about 14 years worth of data, and as you can see, there are some outliers in the area, but we were able to correlate some of those with large storm events, as you'll see in this next slide. Most of these large spikes are actually correlated with some of the highest watercrest events. In fact, 8 of the top 11 highest water level crest events in this area have come in the past 14 years. As you can see, Hurricane Ike was one of the highest. To make the data a little bit easier to read, I created a 90-day moving average, which is shown in yellow on this graph, and also created a trend line. This trend line shows about, if you convert the slope of per day of feet per day into feet per century, that actually calculates about 4.1 feet per century of sea level rise locally in Dulac based on this data. However, I do want to caveat this with the fact that it's only 14 years worth of data, where a full tidal epoch, according to NOAA, is about 19 years. And so there are some harmonic constituents hidden within this data, embedded within this data, that might be skewing that trend line. And it would have been better if I had at least 19 years worth of data to do this analysis. Based on Tableau's forecast, additive forecast model, that also follows that upward trend, that upward linear trend. However, in the next 10 years or so, based on the forecast, that uncertainty of that forecast grows considerably. In conclusion, this observed data in Dulac shows a relatively high rate of relative sea level rise, and that, coupled with the land loss, which creates a buffer between populated areas and the sea, we could see that within the next century or so, places like Dulac may become uninhabitable based on the sea level rise. Thank you so much for listening.